The wind howled outside, rattling the windows of Kylie's small, secluded home nestled deep in the woods. The trees swayed violently, their shadows dancing like twisted figures on the walls of her living room. It was one of those nights where the darkness felt alive, pressing against the glass, waiting for an opportunity to seep inside. Kylie sat on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, trying to focus on the book in her hands. But her mind kept wandering. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The house was too quiet, save for the occasional creak of the floorboards settling. She told herself it was just her imagination, the result of too many true crime documentaries before bed. But deep down, she knew better. It started with a sound, a faint, almost imperceptible tapping on the back door. Kylie froze, her heart skipping a beat. She held her breath, straining to listen. The tapping came again, louder this time, more deliberate. Her stomach churned as she slowly set her book down and stood up, her legs trembling beneath her. The rational part of her brain told her it was probably just a tree branch scraping against the door, but the primal part of her screamed that it was something far worse. She crept toward the kitchen, her bare feet silent on the cold, hardwood floor. The tapping had stopped, but now there was a new sound, a soft, rhythmic scratching like nails dragging across the wood. Kylie's breath came in shallow gasps as she reached for the knife block on the counter. Her fingers closed around the handle of the largest knife, and she gripped it tightly, her knuckles turning white. She inched closer to the door, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure whoever or whatever was on the other side could hear it. The scratching stopped abruptly, and for a moment there was only silence. Then a low, guttural whisper seeped through the crack under the door. "Kylie, let me in." Her blood turned to ice. The voice was distorted, almost inhuman, but it knew her name. She stumbled backward, nearly dropping the knife. Her mind raced. Who was out there? How did they know her name? She wanted to scream, to call for help, but her voice caught in her throat. The whisper came again, louder this time, more insistent. "Kylie, I know you're in there. Let me in." She bolted for the living room, her legs moving on their own. She grabbed her phone off the coffee table and dialed 911 with shaking hands. The line rang once, twice, and then a calm voice answered. 911, what's your emergency? "There's someone at my door," Kylie whispered, her voice trembling. "They're trying to get in. They know my name. Please send help." The dispatcher assured her that officers were on their way, but it would take at least 15 minutes for them to reach her remote location. 15 minutes. An eternity. Kylie's eyes darted around the room, searching for a place to hide. The scratching at the door had turned into pounding, each thud reverberating through the house. She couldn't stay here. She had to move. She sprinted down the hallway to her bedroom, locking the door behind her. Her mind raced as she tried to think of what to do next. The window. She could climb out the window and run to her car. But as she approached the window, she saw him, a shadowy figure standing in the yard, staring up at her. His face was obscured by the darkness, but she could feel his eyes on her, piercing through the glass. She ducked down, her chest heaving. He was already in the yard. There was no way she could make it to her car without him seeing her. The pounding on the back door stopped, and for a moment, Kylie dared to hope that he had given up. But then she heard it, the sound of glass breaking. He was inside. Her breath hitched as she pressed herself against the wall, clutching the knife in one hand and her phone in the other. She could hear his footsteps now, slow and deliberate, moving through the house. He was searching for her. She needed a plan. She couldn't just sit here and wait for him to find her. Her eyes landed on the closet. It was small, but maybe she could hide in there until the police arrived. She crept toward it, careful not to make a sound, and slipped inside, pulling the door shut behind her. The darkness was suffocating. but it was better than being out there with him. She crouched down, her knees pressed to her chest, and tried to steady her breathing. The footsteps grew louder, closer. He was in the hallway now. She could hear him opening doors, searching each room. Her heart pounded in her ears as the footsteps stopped outside her bedroom door. The doorknob rattled, and she bit down on her lip to keep from screaming. He was trying to get in. The door creaked open, and she heard him step inside. She could see his shadow moving through the crack under the closet door. He was so close. Too close. Kylie's mind raced. What if he found her? What would he do to her? She tightened her grip on the knife, her only weapon. She would fight if she had to. She wouldn't go down without a fight. The shadow moved closer to the closet, and she held her breath, praying that he wouldn't open the door. But then the sound of sirens pierced the night air. The police were here. The intruder froze, and for a moment there was silence. Then she heard him curse under his breath and rush out of the room. Kylie waited, her body trembling, until she heard the front door slam shut. She stayed in the closet for what felt like an eternity, afraid to move, afraid that he might still be out there. Finally, she heard voices, real voices, calling her name. The police. She stumbled out of the closet, her legs weak, and made her way to the living room. 2 officers were there, their guns drawn, searching the house. They assured her that the intruder was gone, but Kylie couldn't shake the feeling of dread that clung to her like a second skin. The officers asked her questions, but she could barely focus on their words. All she could think about was the voice, the whisper, the way he had said her name. As the officers finished their search and left, promising to increase patrols in the area, Kylie sat on the couch, staring at the broken back door. She knew she wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Every creak, every rustle of the wind made her jump. She felt violated, exposed, as if the intruder had taken something from her that she could never get back. Hours passed, and the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows. Kylie finally allowed herself to relax, just a little. She was safe. He was gone. But as she stood up to make herself a cup of tea, she noticed something on the kitchen counter that made her blood run cold. A note written in jagged, uneven letters. "I'll be back." Kylie's scream echoed through the empty house, but there was no one left to hear it. If you enjoyed this chilling tale of terror and suspense, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more spine-tingling stories, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the darkness. Remember, the night is never as quiet as it seems, and danger can lurk where you least expect it. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and keep your doors locked.